Okay, Eline Andersen from Denmark, welcome, and thank you also for your cooperation to this webinar on the internet. We'll talk about the year 2009, which was the Danish Year of Sport, and which also, if I'm correctly, resulted in the Silver Award of the International Sports Event Management Award in England. Can you please give an introduction of yourself? I understood that, and we know each other, of course. You first worked for the Olympic Committee of Denmark, and you were more focused towards the public relationship sides of the Olympic athletes. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I worked there for 16 years. And 2 years ago, I decided I wanted to use my skills in another area of the sports business, and then I got a job in the Sport Event Denmark, where I work also with communications and public relations, especially in relation to external parties, sports business, media, and so on. But I also advise all the national federations in regard to the press center setups and so on.
Okay, good, thanks very much, and let's start with the presentation.
Sport Event Denmark is the national sport event organization, and our aim is to attract and host major international sports events. In that way, we have to be branding Denmark as a sport event nation. And in this presentation, I would like to give you just a glimpse of how we work. And I will take the case of the Danish Year of Sport 2009, which was definitely a branding case. And I'll go through some of the things we did in order to expand the initiatives, adding value to the events. So if we go to the next slide, you can see that what the Danish Year of Sport actually contained. The history was that it was officially appointed by the Danish government as the Danish Year of Sport, and within the Danish Year of Sport we have had more than 50 international sports events and congresses, and the biggest and most with most focus was the Congress, the IOC session and Congress in October, which was held in Copenhagen. And all these events, the sporting events and the congresses, they all together branded Denmark, both that Denmark is a strong sports event nation, and we did that by having the slogan inviting the world of sport. Sport Event Denmark, where I work, acted as the project manager of the Danish Year of Sport. So if we go to the next slide, I will just let you see the event calendar for the Danish Year of Sport. It may not be that clear, I can see that now, but as maybe you can see that we had all these different events, and the main thing was that we had the events taking place all over Denmark, not just in Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, but also in the other areas of Denmark. We had very big events, World Championships, and some minor events as well. All these events were put together under the umbrella of the Danish Year of Sport. So whenever we had an event, we made sure that we could link it to the Danish Year of Sport and also the slogan inviting the world of sport. Going to the next slide, I would like to introduce you to the kickoff of the Danish Year of Sport. We had a World Cup in fencing, and in order to frame it differently, we held the competitions in the Mayor Center in Copenhagen, in the City Hall, and in that way we addressed other kind of audiences than we normally do, which was very popular, and we had a lot of focus. And at the same time as staging the World Cup, we also told the world that this is the Danish Year of Sport 2009. The next slide shows the exhibition stand at the IOC Congress. Apart from the Congress in session, there were a lot of things taking place in Copenhagen, and we established a stand where we could talk about Denmark as a sport event nation, where we could answer questions, and all of this was very well welcomed by the visitors of the Congress and session. And this stand we also afterwards took to other places in order to reuse the stand, but also to retell the story about the slogan inviting the world of sport. Next slide shows all the welcome bags that we had produced for the Danish Year of Sport. So we had bags, and we also had these handles that we handed out to the approximately 3,000 visiting journalists. This was a kind of a gimmick, of course, but also a way of addressing the journalists in another way, and it was very clearly that the journalists took well. They liked the idea, and they also came back to us with questions about this very special concept, and we had a lot of media attention generated by this. The next slide shows another initiative that we did quite a lot. We put quite a lot of effort in, and that was the city dressing for the events. So whenever we had an event taking place in Denmark, we made sure that the entire city was talking about the event, and we had these city dressing welcoming the athletes, officials, spectators and fans, as well as it announced the event for the local area. This example we see here is from the World Championships in wrestling, but we did that for the other events as well. And I'll show you another example on the next slide from Copenhagen, where we also announced several events. Copenhagen, as the capital city of Denmark, had a lot of different events. So here are two different photos on the same slides. One is announcing the UCI BMX Supercross World Cup, and the other one is announcing the UCI World Cup track cycling. In that way, it was very easy to address the locals about the events, and also to guide the visitors, the athletes and officials. And I'll just take you to the next slide, because we didn't just talk about it in Denmark. We also had athletes visiting countries abroad. We had wrestlers visiting the Middle East, and they were promoting the Danish Year of Sport by having the slogan on their competition clothes. It's upside down on this photo, but it actually says inviting the world of sport, even if it is upside down. We also made sure that the people working with the events and documenting the events were dressed in shirts and jackets, talking about this slogan and the Danish Year of Sport. So the second photo shows a cameraman in action filming the World Cup marathon swimming in the canals of Copenhagen, which was also a very attractive event. Going to the next slide, we also started with a production of magazines, and the magazines are called Hosting Winners. For each magazine we picked a focus or a theme, and we made sure that these magazines were sent out to decision makers within the international federations and also sports business media. And instead of talking about what we can do in Denmark, we made sure that we found smart moves from our colleagues in Europe and other parts of the world. And then the only sort of footprint Sport Event Denmark had on this magazine was the editorial, which was written by our chief executive Lars Lundahl, and on the back there was the event calendar for the Danish events. And this was also a product that people thought was a nice idea. That's what they told us anyway. And we still make this magazine for the colleagues in the same business as we are. And all this we did, all these different initiatives that I've been talking about now, we did all these primarily to get some media attention on the things happening in Denmark. And on the next slide you can see that we have monitored the online media coverage for the events. This slide shows the media coverage of the IOC Congress and Session, which was, I would say, the largest event in Denmark in 2009. When talking about branding, you need to measure the coverage of your initiatives. And we did that by doing an online media coverage survey for each of the more than 50 events taking place in Denmark. This example you see on this slide is the online media coverage of the IOC Session and Congress. As you can see, we had quite a few articles mentioning the IOC Session and Congress, and actually the Congress generated more than 70,000 online articles from the 1st of August till the 1st of November 2009. And as it shows, most of the articles peaked around the time when the session took place. This is quite normal, we can tell from all the other events, but we can also tell that the media attention before the event and also after the event is on a higher level than it was the year before. So in that way we can make a very not a positive and conclusive conclusion, but we can say that all these initiatives branding Denmark as a sport event nation has shown some results. And going to the next slide, I would also like just very quickly to mention the films we've been making during the year. We have done some promotion films showing various sports events in Denmark, and also some more viral films. And one of them is the film We Love Bikes, and I would like to show that to you after this presentation. And all this we've done through the social media, especially YouTube and Facebook, in recognition of the importance and the importance of these media to back up the more conventional promotion work that we do here in Denmark. And that's all from me. I'm Eline Andersen. I'm the Event and Communication Manager at Sport Event Denmark. And if you want to get in closer dialogue with me, I've put down my contact details on this slide.
Okay, Eline, thank you very much. It's quite interesting to see how a country can put itself on the map. Listening to you, I just have a couple of questions. Where exactly did this idea come from, and what was the main reason behind this, to have the year 2009 as the Danish Year of Sport?
The idea came from several parties, and it was the Danish government actually that came up with the final idea to announce the 2009 as the Danish Year of Sport, and that was a consequence of Denmark getting the host for getting to be the host for the IOC Session and Congress. When we got that one, Denmark realized that we should make the most out of it. So instead of just having this single event standing alone, we put a large effort in bidding for more events to take place in 2009.
So the Olympic Congress in 2009 was basically the first big event. And when did you got this organization of the event? When was it announced by the IOC?
It was announced in 2006.
Okay.
So we had some years to go and bid for other events.
Right, right. Looking back now, do you evaluate the Danish Year of Sport 2009 as successful?
Yes, we do, and we also take a lot of the ideas with us into 2010 and now 11, because we can tell that adding values to events is very important when you want to get more attention to the events that you have. So many of the ideas that were first tried out in 2009 are now a normal part of our event setup.
Right. Now, are there other countries approaching you and Sport Event Denmark about some best practices, about your experiences, and are there other countries who want also to organize a Year of Sport?
Yes, we find that a lot of people come up, especially when we go out and give presentations, and then want to learn more about what we actually did and how we financed all these things, because it's not free to go in and make a special effort. So we get quite a lot of attention still from this Danish Year of Sport concept.
Okay, Eline, once again, thank you very much, and we'll go now then to your video.